Yes, everyone, what's going on? Stephen Howson, welcome back to the channel. And this was meant to be last night, but the I had transport problems. It was trains cancelled and all sorts of stuff getting back from London from the roast of Joel. So I had that much to do when I got in last night. I thought, let's just do it today. And we'll see if anything else breaks as well, because going live last night would have been in the middle of the absolute massacring of Everton that Chelsea put on, which, to be honest, I was actually enjoying watching a little bit, and also confused watching it, because Chelsea are so confusing, aren't they? They're like shit, but like at times pretty fucking good. And the carnage of fighting over taking a penalty. Are we 12? What are you doing? Be a professional and go stand over there, you absolute sausage. Anyways, how are you lot? Are we good? Let's get into what we're talking about today. Seen some people talking about Frimpong coming to United, and I said yesterday he ain't going to come to United, and then loads of people was asking why he's not going to come to United. He's going to have to trust me on this one. He's not coming to United. Alejandro Garnacho. So apparently United are content that Garnacho has backed away from a potential row with Ten Hag after liking social media posts that criticised the manager. Taken out of context as well, as some fuckwits tend to do. Um, Talking about Ten Hag storming out of a press conference, it just didn't happen. But then it gets picked up by all sorts of elements. Joel tried it on the podcast yesterday. Ten Hag stormed out the press conference. No, he didn't. He's on his way out of the press conference. And then as he's on his way out of the press conference, somebody goes, one more question. He answers the question, sort of, and then leaves. It's not storming out of a press conference. And by the way, more coverage on that non-event than there was on Jurgen Klopp's actual storming out of press conferences. Do you know what I mean? Garnacho needs to have a think, man, because Garnacho's been in poor form, in my opinion, of late. So going against a man that has been the first to play you as consistently as he has done, going against a man that has been so kind of positive in your career, going against a man that's dropped others around you. You know, he's defended you. He's played you week in, week out. I think he's played 30 consecutive games. Give you a start in the Champions League. Started you last season even though you weren't doing well. You know, you've been given some serious amount of game time this season. Sometimes you come off at half time, and you can't say it wasn't happening. It's been victimized in any sort of way, because you just be like, I think he's a hothead. I think at times that can lead to like real passionate sort of impulsive reactions. But it says a source at the club reckons that Garnacho has shown contrition. That means apologised quickly, and it said there won't be any further action taken against them. They consider it an internal matter. But the club can't be happy with the amount of shit that comes out like this all the time. Why is that even out there? Why do we know that they've actually not fell out? We shouldn't know. Really, I mean, in a way it's good that we do know, but in a way, like, we shouldn't know. There's far too much gets out of Manchester United. It's fucking frustrating. Next up, Antony Martial will leave United at the end of the season. And is anybody in shock there? Where's he going to go? Honestly, don't know. Honestly, don't even care, because he's just frittered away a career at United. Some big wages are going to leave in the summer. He'll be some of them. I expect Varane and Casemiro are going to go, and actually between the three of them, you're talking not far off £1 million a week, which is a significant saving. That's going to make up some absolute madness. Supposedly, according to the formerly great local newspaper, now disreputable online blog, that some United players are delaying decisions on the future, so they expect Erik Ten Hag to be sacked in the summer. Right. Who is that? Right. And for starters, yeah, are they, or is that just a real fucking easy nonsense quote to throw out there? Yeah. Whose contracts are up? Let's have a look. Right. Let's go on Google. Manchester United contracts are up. So let's see who's about to expire at United contract wise. Right, Amrabat, he's not fucking sticking around. Anthony Martial, he's not sticking around. Johnny Evans, I think he probably should stick around. Whether or not he does is up to him. And Tom Heaton, who at 38 is third choice goalkeeper. He may have another season or so in the Premier League at a smaller club, perhaps as a first choice if he wants to go out like that. Otherwise, I think the job as a third choice goalkeeper would be absolutely sensational for him. Who else are we looking at? Next season, who have you got that's contract is expiring? Scott McTominay. Would anyone be bothered? Genuinely. Do you think Scott McTominay's delaying a decision on his future, thinking about what Erik Ten Hag is going to do? No, me either. Harry Maguire, same. Wan-Bissaka, same. Varane, I think he might choose to leave at the moment anyway. Amad Diallo, there might be something in that. United do have an option to just extend him beyond next year regardless. And then Willy Kambala, I can't see him having an issue with Erik Ten Hag. Christian Eriksen, I mean, Eriksen could be one, but realistically, do you know what I mean? Like Lindelof, I think that'd be United. Like who is sitting there going? Sound like a fucking Howland, didn't I? Who the fuck thinks that their delaying a decision is going to make any fucking impact on Erik Ten Hag whatsoever? And then the ones that are beyond that are beyond his contract anyway. You got Casemiro, Malacia, Bruno Fernandes. Is Bruno Fernandes having issues about Erik Ten Hag? I can't imagine he is, right? And he's here for another at least 2 years regardless anyway. So he will be 31-ish. 32 basically by the start of that season. You got Casemiro, who's... I don't know who the fuck authorised this, but he's still actually contracted to the club for another 2 fucking years. Wow. And then beyond that, you're like... Lisandro Martinez. Do you think he's got a fucking issue with Erik Ten Hag? Luke Shaw, Kobe Mainoo. Like, just what a fucking nonsense report. That's the sort of absolute fucking gutter nonsense trash journalism that we expect from the shit rag like the MEN. That's pathetic, genuinely. Fucking pathetic. Pathetic. It's so easy to just fucking walk through that and go, do you know what? Prove this fucking thing wrong. Laters. Anyway, Antony. So according to Romano, United have dismissed suggestions that Antony was left out of the squad for the game against Bournemouth because of a disagreement with Ten Hag. There was some rumours of that on the internet. Again, don't know whether they're true or not. I have no clue. One source said United are unhappy that there was speculation Antony was left out because of a row with Ten Hag over his playing time. United sources insist he wasn't able to participate against Bournemouth because he picked up an injury in training on Friday, which meant he could not finish the session. If that was the case... was there an argument? Like, this is a simple case of was there a row, yes or no? If no, then obviously someone just fucking made it up. Literally just invented it. If there was an argument over his playing time, then Antony is absolutely fucking delusional. Because, do you know how straightforward it would be to just show him clips of himself and be like, do you think you deserve to start? Genuinely. I don't think Garnacho's had a stellar season. I think he's proven he's capable of playing at this level, but I don't think anyone's been like, oh, you're not getting in ahead of him. I think if Antony upped his game by only a little bit, there'd be some competition on his hands. But he has to up his game to get in the squad. You can't look at his performances right now and go, yeah, we're going to sit someone on the bench for you. Not happening. Not happening. And actually, there's probably... the majority of United players that you could say that for. Some of them are unfortunate. They've got other people that they're competing with for their position. Some of them are fortunate that they're the only fucker who can play their position, and that's why they're getting picked week in, week out at the moment. But there's not one United player who should be kicking off, maybe outside of maybe Ahmad, maybe Mason Mount. But even then, you're like, all right, you've done okay. You haven't absolutely fucking lit the place up when we've come in the mixer, have you? You know what I'm saying? Anyway, and then the other note here is Casemiro is likely to leave Manchester United this summer. And in other news, it's probably going to rain in the next fucking 24 hours in Manchester. It's such a sad decline for Casemiro because the decline has been so steep and so drastic. The only other sort of like drastic, oh my God, fall off I can remember of this is Roy Keane, really. Ironically, about 20 years ago. Like, when Roy Keane was sacked for United, you got to remember, he was sacked. the end of the 2004 season was rough, and then was it like was it 2005? It might have been. Did we get past Christmas? I can't remember the exact date that we sacked him, but those last 6-7 months, Roy Keane went whoosh. And this is, Roy Keane gets almost universally disrespected in terms of the level of footballer that he is. The fact that people do any Premier League 11 and don't start with Roy Keane in midfield in that 11 is absolutely fucking ludicrous. And that's not because of, the mentality, and that's not, because he was a leader that influenced others around him. No. Roy Keane is in any Premier League 11 based on ability and his ability with the ball. Roy Keane had like a 95% pass completion, and you'd be like, yeah, easy when you're just fucking passing it sideways and backwards all the time. Go and watch Roy Keane, right? Because I remember the absolute frustration of United fans the first 2 seasons of Michael Carrick, because Michael Carrick kept possession by passing it sideways and backwards. And he was called Michael the fucking Crab Carrick for a long period because he made the mistake of taking the number 16 shirt and he didn't fucking smash people and drive the ball forward in the same manner that Roy Keane did. And he was, unfortunately, constantly compared to Roy Keane. They were 2 totally different players. If he'd have took a number fucking 25 or something instead, he wouldn't have been compared to Roy Keane. You're playing in the same position, you're wearing the same shirt, and you are completely different, totally elite central midfielders, but because of the stylistic difference between the two, it's like when we had the Berbatov versus Tevez thing going on. It's wrong to compare them because they're 2 totally different footballers, and they might occasionally play the same position, but they're not playing the same role. And that was wrong. But Roy Keane was a fucking absolute unreal footballer, and the leadership, mentality, the standard keeping, that was all cherries and fucking icing on the top of the cake. The cake was his ability. It's the same with David Beckham. People go, fucking David Beckham. I saw something the other day, Spice Girl tax for David Beckham. What the fuck is that? No, David Beckham was unbelievable at football and then decided he would like to be famous on top of that. But do you know who else did that? Robbie Savage. And Robbie Savage didn't become David fucking Beckham because Robbie Savage didn't have the footballing ability of David Beckham. He would absolutely have liked to have been every other thing that David Beckham was, I think. But he wasn't of the same footballing ability as David Beckham. Joshua, with the super chat there, says, I do wish this club would go uber blunt with their responses to some journos and just answer their questions with a none of your fucking business. Love it. Amaya says, have I seen the trailer for the 99 coming 17th of May? Yes, I don't think I will be going outside for that entire day. Apna says, and their analysis is not as thorough. I don't know what was that relating to. Rune says Carrick wasn't a defensive player until later in his career. He used to be more of an 8 until he moved backwards. Yeah, he's actually a number 10, I think, when he came through at West Ham initially. He was a playmaker, and he continued to be a playmaker just a little bit further back. Stephen says there's at least 12 players in the squad who aren't good enough. Yeah, all of this is Ten Hag's fault. Crazy lack of logic. Like I said, so many if we've had managers that have been successful before they came here and then after they came here but weren't successful while they were here, and that's repeated itself time and time and time again, yet the same group of players, largely, has been a failure and a failure and a failure and a failure, why do you think bringing in another manager and not completely replacing this squad would be the move to do? Do you know what I mean? Like, where's the fucking logic in it? If everybody completely in agreement that United's back-end structure, recruitment, all of that sort of stuff is dog shit, why would you then bring in any other manager and expect them to succeed? Notch says he was signed on ability. He was tearing it up at Forest. Yeah, wasn't he not Young Player of the Year, Roy Keane? I think he was Young Player of the Year. Stephen Harris says we won the treble with 22 average players according to recent narratives. Right, so there couldn't be more contrast between this Liverpool team and Manchester United. So Manchester United's treble winning team, which won 3 trophies and then retained the Premier League 3 years on the bounce, which Liverpool didn't. They haven't retained a single trophy in Klopp's era, have they? They haven't. Not a single fucking trophy, right? And certainly not the league. Jurgen Klopp is, according to the consensus, the best manager in the world. Like, Pep couldn't do what Klopp could do, therefore, Klopp is the best manager in the world. That's the consensus that I see online. Trent is the best right back in the Premier League era. That is a consensus that is out there. Van Dijk is the best centre half. That's out there. Alisson is the best goalkeeper that the Premier League has seen. Even fucking Jordan Henderson is creeping into Premier League 11s. I've seen it. Not often, granted. Thiago was the best midfielder in the world when they signed him. Salah, Mane were the best wingers in the world. Robertson was the best left back in the world. He got the best fucking fans, apparently, and the best atmosphere, which is the biggest myth I've ever come across in football. However, with all of that going for them, from the best fans, the best fucking hot dogs probably, to Jurgen Klopp, to all of their players being the best at fucking whatever position they're in, they didn't retain a single trophy, not one. And in their time under Jurgen Klopp at Manchester United, I believe he's won, one more trophy than us and finished above us one more time than we finished above them in that time. Contrast that with Manchester United, sort of, call it the treble era, or call it the double era, whichever one you fancy, the 08 or the 99 version. Fergie was shit. He just had no competition in the league, despite having genuine competition in the league. We outspent everyone, but we didn't. We actually were like the 7th or 8th biggest spenders in the 90s. People really want to look up what Newcastle and Liverpool spent in the 90s trying to chase glory that they didn't find. Beckham was shit. Keane was shit. Scholes was shit. Gary Neville was definitely shit. If you try and bring Bruce and Pallister up to any sort of Premier League all-time 11, you'll get laughed at, but why would you? Because they are probably the most successful defensive partnership in Premier League history, I think. Certainly in the conversation for. But why they never brought up Dennis Irwin was just fucking bang average. Couldn't play in today's game, apparently. York and Cole, never discussed. Never brought up, ever. No one ever tries to put them in a Premier League 11. Probably the greatest partnership the Premier League's ever seen. Ryan Giggs, he was fucking shit. You know any other shit players that have won 13 titles? Some fucking clubs in the 150 years of existence haven't. Actually, most clubs with 150 years of existence haven't won 13 titles yet. One man from Swinton/Cardiff managed to win 13 titles with an average manager. That was just a motivator that just shouted at him. Why didn't other managers just shout at their players? Maybe there was something more to it, eh? Maybe he just didn't shout at players. Roy Keane as captain won the most fucking trophies of any captain. Yet people want to put Steven Gerrard into a Premier League 11 above him. Based on what? Exactly. Do you know what I mean? Just. It's the disrespect of the greatest team that the Premier League era has ever seen. The only team, except no imitations, the only team that has won a treble without 115 charges levelled against it. People tell you fucking tiki-taka was invented by Pep Guardiola. Want to go and watch Manchester United from like 1995, 96 and watch the fucking one-touch third-man run movement. It's just people's footballing terminology and lexicon has evolved over time. So pressing is now a thing. It wasn't that it wasn't a thing. We just didn't call it that. We called it pressure on the ball, or we called it get in their fucking face. Don't let him turn. It wasn't called pressing, but it's still the same thing. The principle is still the same. You know, you didn't call it tiki-taka, but you called it playing on 1 and 2 touch. That's been in football for fucking 70 years, probably. The speed has evolved. If you watch United in the 90s, you can't tell me that wasn't a fucking quick team. People talk about what Kevin De Bruyne did. Kevin De Bruyne's not a better technician than David Beckham. And some people will laugh at that, but they're wrong. Buffy Whatever says Alonso was better than Slippy Boy at both things, manager and player. Comfortably. A Pint of Beer says, how much Was in the Old Trafford boardroom safe in Bung Money, a bent club. That's a hell of an accusation, our kid. I'm sure a pint of beer's your legal, recognised, government-issued identified name. So I'm sure that you'd have no problem saying that in a public forum where, you know, you could face the consequences of accusing a club of such things without foundation. Liam says, regardless of the 115 charges, we weren't owned by a country. Our treble will always be a better achievement. Knights says, before Klopp, players didn't run towards the ball. Notch says, other fans bring up the brown envelopes. There were loads of unfair decisions against us from the likes of Howard Webb. I mean, United literally lost titles on incorrect decisions. United also faced steeper punishment for every transgression with the FA. Ferguson is the most fucking fined manager in the history of English football. Julia says that formations the only things that have evolved over time. Well, you can argue that formations haven't evolved over time either, really. You go back to the dawn of football, Walter Winterbottom's 2-3-5. Well, shit, man, that looks a lot like how fucking Pep lines up nowadays. There's 11 blokes on a pitch, or ladies on a pitch. What's changed? Not a lot, really. You still have skillful dribblers. You still have people wanting to play on one touch. Genuinely, what's changed? I think the players are, on the whole, a bit fitter than they were. The likes of David Beckham could finish the bleep test. There's been fit players for 40 plus years. And fitness has always had a positive impact on that. Are they particularly faster now? Maybe. But is that to do with a standardization of surface and a lightening in terms of like boot and athletic wear technology, as much as it is as the athletic performance of the individuals doing it? You know what I mean? Joshua says, people talking about brown envelopes as if City haven't given Pep's brother a whole football club. Hey, that is entirely above board. I don't know what you're talking about. Sayan says, how Liverpool fans put Van Dijk in the greatest Prem teams while disregarding players like Terry. Let me just stop you there. Why have you just mentioned John Terry? Rio, Stam, Campbell. A friend of mine put Carragher ahead of the above names. I hit him. That's the only thing to do, yeah. Ross says fitness levels have changed a lot. I think the fitness levels have changed, but if you look at the distances David Beckham was running, for example, in 1999, because the data is out there, because United were one of the world leaders in bringing things like sports code and Opta technology to football, they had the running data of David Beckham in 99, and he was doing fucking kilometers. People aren't outrunning David Beckham now. So, you know, maybe the fitness levels have changed, but have they changed that much in the grand scheme of things? CTB says the rules and the pitch quality aren't the same. The rules have evolved, yeah. I mean, things like the offside rule and VAR have probably affected it. I mean, there's almost, it's like 1.7 goals a game more, which is nearly double the amount of goals being scored as there previously was. I think it's gone from like 2 goals a game-ish or 1.9 goals a game to like 3.6 goals per game now over about the last 30 years. And that's because you get more penalties. I think VAR is given more goals. I think there's a few reasons for that. Sahaj says, would I seriously react to the title reallocation if City are found guilty and stripped and Oli or Jose are assigned one each? I'd find it very difficult to do any sort of reaction because I will have passed away from laughing. Or I don't know if I would get signal on the open top bus that I will put on through the centre of town. So we'd have to see. Corey says our 90s teams could play. Bobby says, even Pallister over Van Dijk, we must have had 20 better centre-halves in the Premier League era. I think that Van Dijk is a good one. I think John Terry is the one that I think's fucking madly overrated. He wasn't even as good as his centre-half partner. He was arguably the third best defender in his back four. Alex says, talk about fitness. Gary Neville has a show called The Overlap for the sole reason he did it for 90 minutes and he could do attack and defence, unlike Trent. I think Trent's a better technician with the ball, but absolutely, yeah. I think Gary Neville, from a defensive point of view, fucking Trent can't even look him in the eye. Sean says lighter boots equals more injuries. I think that's a factor. Absolutely, yeah. Knight says, was looking at the FA's transfer registrations. Pierre Guardiola has been an agent in a lot of transfers for City. Nice. Ross says Ricardo Carvalho was better than Terry. Facts. Apner says Terry Adesian. Also a fact. People, and they also had Peter Cech, who Peter Cech is in the running for one of the best goalkeepers the Premier League has seen. Him and Van der Sar, Peter Schmeichel, I think would be the fair three to discuss. Peter Cech was fucking phenomenal. But let's not pretend that Peter Cech didn't have saves to make. For all of the, John Terry was part of a defence. Part of a defence. That had, some serious talent all around him and a tactic that wasn't asked about trying to defend a little bit first. That Chelsea team was incredible, with and without the ball. But I don't think it was as fun to watch as United. United asking fucking Rio and Vidic to play 1v1 on the halfway line against everyone. No fucks given. Patrick says, possible to get stats on work rate per player relative to Liverpool, e.g. 90 sprint. Nah. Kilometres might be the only thing you can get, because they didn't have the GPS tracking universally across the leagues in the 90s. It came in 99 with United. Common Pen says, you've highlighted this point before, but the 90s and early 2000s possession football at times was phenomenal to watch. I'm surprised we've grown so distant from that art form. Do I rate Alisson the same as the other three keepers mentioned? No. What's interesting is United had times where they were boring. I remember being bored in Old Trafford. No, we could play quick attack, one-touch football. United were very known as a very great counter-attacking team. They call it transitional now, but we were a counter-attacking team. We were fucking phenomenal on the break because we always had wingers that would stay high and wide because we tried to defend man-to-man rather than with like 6 or 7. So we would get the ball, we would move it forward, and we would overload you, and we would get the ball in the box, and we would fucking score. United were excellent at that in terms of a tactic. But there were also times when a team did low block against us where United would do the horseshoe and just go round the defence, up to the fullback, maybe up to the winger, nothing on, come back, keep the ball. And United would, if possession stats were even a fucking thing in 2000, there would have been times where United had a similar number of passes to what City are having now. Where, I'll be honest with you, and some City fans would probably agree with me at the moment now, fucking boring. At times it's boring. But do you know what's not boring? Winning games. So that's the way it goes sometimes. When you're that good, teams are going to set up and try and defend against you. And you're going to have to fucking try and break down a team that's camped in. And United dealt with that for so long. That was a big factor in why the atmosphere got boring at United at times. Because, one of the best atmospheres at Old Trafford in recent memory was Moyes' first season. Because we have a fucking clue what was going on. And we were a bit shit. So, the crowd had to turn up. It was exciting because we didn't know what was going to happen. Whereas a lot of the time under Fergie, 19 home games in the league, probably win 18 of them. We drop one occasionally. But we win 18 of them. 17, bad season. He's fucking lost it. Don't know what he's doing anymore. You know what I mean? Daniel says, I remember when we could score from an opposition corner in 3 passes. Yeah. Any chance of locking the referee in the changing rooms till 5 for the Clay Brow game so I can make kickoff? They've asked us for linesmen as well. That's interesting, isn't it? Can't get referees sometimes at our level, but Clay always seems to have linesmen as well. I mean, they do pay for it, but it's interesting, isn't it? 1,311 minutes without conceding a goal. Can't believe we still hold that record. I can't believe we set that record with a team that's so fucking attacking. Amaya says, people can't seriously want Frimpong when we clown Trent for not defending every week. We be trolled every week. The difference is Frimpong isn't in the position to be beaten or do the walking that we see Trent doing. Frimpong's literally just a far right outlet. And I don't mean in terms of his political views, he just fucking basically hangs out as a right winger. And he's fucking good at what he does, but you know what I'm saying? Ed says, imagine R9 and this generation versus the era, and his generation versus this era of aura defending. Come on. What do you think R9 does to fucking... R9. By the way, I finished R9 in 2004. Fucking cooked Rio, right? What do you think he's doing to fucking let me turn me back and fucking run all weird Van Dijk? Van Dijk wouldn't even be in the fucking replay because he'd be so far out of fucking position. R9's done a fucking 3 step overs, doshed it to his left hand side, gone past him and the keeper, buried it, ran off before Van Dijk's even realised what's going on. What's the story behind the Oasis posters? I like the posters and I like Oasis. Some Illuminati thing I can't tell you. How good was Paul Parker? Paul Parker was very good, offensively and defensively. Wasn't it in 2003? All right, yeah, 2003, not 4, but yeah, 2003. But he was still finished. Ronaldo by then was 5 years past his peak and finished and still ridiculous. I mean, he literally scored a hat trick at Old Trafford, but he was finished. And I know that makes no fucking sense whatsoever, but trust me, like that from that one that turned up then to the one that we'd seen previously, it was night and day. It was like the first season at Inter, the last season at Barcelona. That was peak R9, and he was an absolute fucking monster. Glenn says Parker was a much better player than a pundit. I think that's something we can absolutely all agree on. Verti Joe says indeed R9 would absolutely mangle defenders in this era. We had Andreas Pereira in the studio yesterday, and after we finished, we was having a chat, and he was talking about he's just shaved his son's head. I think he said his son's 2 or 3. He said he's just shaved his son's head because his son's obsessed with R9 and watching the videos of R9 on YouTube. And Andreas said he was like trying to show him like modern Brazil players, and he was like trying to show him Neymar. He's like, no, this guy. I love that. R9 was fucking unreal. What I mean, that's oh, it's gone. It's behind the blind. My R9 picture. Matt says, why not Alisson? I do genuinely believe he's one of the best keepers in the league. But you've also said Blue are better than Oasis, so we cannot trust your opinions. Alisson's a good keeper. Genuinely a good keeper, but like he's not on the same levels as what we saw from Peter Schmeichel, from Cech, or from Van der Sar. You know, he might be on David De Gea's level. Knight says, do I believe it gets easier to win the Champions League every year for Premier League clubs because of the financial gap opening between the Premier League and Europe? Much harder to win a treble in 99. Well, like Inter and Juventus were 2 of the best clubs in the world. And there was a lot more parity between Spain, Italy, Germany and England back in those days. Yeah. It's different. It's just a different era. Sammy says we need upgrades for so many positions. I know it's hard to ask, but I just hope the fans would realise it's not going to happen in the summer transfer window. It takes years. It does take years. Stone Roses is better than all of them. Yeah, I like the Stone Roses. I don't dislike the Stone Roses, but you know, I like that. So original. The guy who did the cover art for Definitely Maybe that's handwritten. He's done that from Microdot, and the it's hand signed as well. So I like that, and that's a gig poster from Main Road is the football nets one, and I just like it. It reminds me of growing up. There was like a couple of 100 meters from my mum's house. It was called Draws and Amis pitch. I have no idea what the history behind it was. I don't even think they put the nets up there anymore. But that was a sick little pitch, and there was always a fucking rusty broken net on there, which I used to play when I was a kid, and then I took my son there. You know, just one of those. Glenn says Oasis were great, just a shame they are City bellends. No, the 2 most fucking well known are City bellends. Bonehead is a United fan, so don't worry about it. You know what I'm saying. Ion says, because nobody passes to him, thoughts on Højlund always having to come deep to get the ball. Yeah, he's turned into a target man hold-up player rather than trying to get him behind a little bit. We're not playing to his strengths. We're not playing him for the reasons that we signed him, in my opinion. Where would our second 11 from 99 finish now? Our second 11 would have been what? Van der Hauw, Phil Neville, David May, Henning Berg. don't know who you'd have at full back. No, so you'd go Wes Brown, right back, Phil Neville, left back. Midfield would have been Nicky Butt, Blomqvist on one wing. Who else would we have had in midfield? Sheringham and Solskjaer up front. Who else would we have had in midfield? Oh, come on, I can do this from memory, surely. I don't want to just tap in a fucking Jonathan Greening or someone. Oh, who would we have had? Jordi Cruyff. He'd have played centre. Let's put Jordi Cruyff on the left. Let's put Blomqvist. Jordi Cruyff on the right. Blomqvist on the left. Nicky Butt and... Oh, who else did we have in central midfield? Yeah, it's going to be fucking Jonathan Greening, isn't it? Surely not, but it's going to be. It'd be bottom half. It'd be bottom half. Fortune didn't sign till after the treble. Park was not here then. Why are City still not being punished for any of the 115 charges? I'm hoping it's because they're just going to get fucking absolutely relegated to death. Ronnie Johnson would have been in the starting 11. Fortune came later. How many times has Garnacho been able to play in his best position, right wing? Quite a lot lately, to be honest with you. Would Andreas get into the United team? Does he regret leaving? No, I don't think he does regret leaving, but I also don't think he gets into the team at the moment as well. I think if we're being real with ourselves, he had to leave to go play football. He was getting on. I think he was 26 when he left. And Bruno just doesn't get injured. And I know that we played him a little bit deeper at times, but like his best position is a 10. He's a creator. So no. But it was sound. It was good fun. Sean says Kanchelskis would smoke most fullbacks these days. Do you know what? For everyone going, oh, what would Kanchelskis have been like? He'd have been like Gareth Bale. That's what Kanchelskis would have been like. You'd have inverted him, and he would have been a fucking nightmare. Genuinely. Anyways, I'm going to wrap it up. As always, thank you guys for tuning in. All sorts of stuff coming out later in the week. We have got a new IRL video coming out tomorrow. Like I said, we hit 10,000 followers on the IRL channel. If you'd like to check it out, the link will be in the description. Go and check it out, Howson IRL. There is a video coming tomorrow with a solo wild camp army style. So if you're into that sort of stuff, you want to check any of that out, then go check it out. Otherwise, thanks for tuning in as always. And I'll catch you lot in the next one. Laters. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, five-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here.